Welcome to Mentors for IAS. I'm Dr. Arjun Bopanna. So in this particular video, we are going to discuss or revise the entire theorist that is there in anthropology syllabus. Okay, so this is just for those who have already understood the basics of the theory and have some kind of a conceptual clarity. They already have notes. For them, this will be very useful for a very quick revision. A lot of students are asking for better clarity. So I thought I will do a rapid revision of anthropological thoughts or anthropological theories. This is very useful topic, even though some of the questions may not be asked directly, but trust me, this is going to help you to write very good answers, whether it is in paper 1 or in paper 2. Because whenever you write an answer, if you add a theoretical perspective or different views of anthropologists, your answers will be better. You will be able to get better marks. Even in paper 2, when you are writing about Indian caste system, Indian social system, the tribal aspects of various issues. In that also, when you bring about this theoretical perspective, the views of anthropologists, etc., your answers will be better and definitely you will be able to get more marks. So therefore, try and understand these topics, the anthropological theorists, in a timeline and how each of these theories have developed and what are the factors that has led to its development, what are its basic tenets, what are its criticism. So this is how you are to prepare for every theorist. So this is how I will try and do this particular video. This video will be in parts so that one after the other, you will get connectivity with respect to different theorists. Okay, so this is just a quick rapid revision. We are not going to delve into it in very detailed manner because obviously you would have read it from your different texts, notes, or in your classroom programs. So the first theory, obviously, that we start with is evolution, or what we call it as classical evolution. Or later on, it will be renamed as your unilinear evolution to differentiate it from the neo-evolutionists who are called or who have different theories. That is, they are called as multilinear evolution or universal evolution, right? So we'll come to that later. So the first theory is classical evolution or your unilinear evolution. This is how even anthropology as a discipline begins, right? So in this rapid revision, let's focus on the keywords that should be there in your answers. Let's focus on some key facts that should be there in your answers. And then we will try and compare different theories wherever it is necessary. That's what we will focus on. So that when you see this video, it will be very useful to try and connect the various content that is there already with you in your notes. Right. So the anthropology as a discipline began with classical evolution, right? So because of colonialism, because of Darwin's theory of organic evolution, it had a huge influence in this discipline, and various scholars who were interested in anthropology or social studies used the knowledge that was already existing in biological science, that is organic evolution given by Darwin, and they started to apply this, right? Apply this concept of evolution even in the study of culture or in the study of society. So they said that every society or every culture evolves, like how organisms have evolved, culture and society also have evolved. So there is an origin and then they have evolved from simple to complex, from homogeneity to heterogeneity, from incoherent to coherent, right? These are the keywords that should be there in your definition, right? Simple to complex, homogeneity to heterogeneity, incoherent to coherent, right? So you have British scholars as well as American scholars like Morgan, British scholars like Tyler, who have contributed towards this particular school of thought. So what are the salient features, or what do we, what are the facts that you have to remember? One, it's a unilinear. Unilinear. That means every society evolves in a single line. That's why it's called as unilinear evolution. They evolve in similar line from savagery, barbarism to civilization. These words has to be there, right? So they all evolved in similar stages over a period of time. Some faster, some are in savagery stage, some are in barbarism, some are civilized. So they are not isotemporal. Remember that word. They're not isotemporal. That means they don't happen at the same time, but they happen at the same stage, right? So that's you have to write, right? So they talk about the origin evolution, they happen in stages. And how did they come up with this theory? What is the method? That method that you have to remember is comparative method. What did they do in this comparative method? They studied the present day simple society and the society that existed in other parts of the world. They compared it, okay, and then they built this theory. So they compare the present day simple society with the past of present day civilizations. That is comparative studies, right? So they try to identify, they see basically what did they do? They came up with criteria to identify who are savagery, barbarism, and civilization. Then they studied present day societies and then put them under either savagery, barbarism, and civilization. So by studying today's savagery, we will understand the past of civilization. If you want to know your past, you study today's simple society. That was a comparative study. Another analytical model or analytical concept that they came was obviously survivals, right? So that also you have to keep in mind. Survivals. These are in terms in what they called it as cultural survivals, cultural fossils, right? They called it as cultural fossils. That means they are relics of the past. So what is survivals? You have to know it. You have to identify. So Tyler gave this concept of survival. These are basically those culture, okay, or institutions or elements of culture which are existing today, but are loosely integrated with the rest of the society and have lost their function or utility. Anything that is existing today has lost its utility, but are still existing or continuing because of habit. People are used to doing something, so they continue to do it. So that is survival. So it is an evidence that that particular culture had some utility in the past, but today it has lost its path, but still it is surviving. So it's like a fossil, cultural fossil that exists. By studying that, anthropologists can understand our past. So fossils, survivals can be asked as a question. So prepare for that point also. Then there are certain essence and elements that they talk about. So they say evolution is a gradual process. It's a ceaseless process. That means it continues to happen. Okay, it does not stop. Then it happens in the same stage. That's why it's called as unilinear evolution. Then it can be applied for a particular cultural element, or it can be for the entire society. So we can see the evolution, or we can use this idea to study the evolution of marriage, or if you want to study the evolution of kinship, you can do that. So it can be applied for the entire society or a particular institution or a trade or whatever. Okay, so why do you study it? So the basic objective of these studies were to make anthropology a science, the study of culture a science. They wanted to develop a science. The law is what, according to them, that every society evolves in a single stage from savagery, barbarism to civilization. So you need to remember these names for your exam. You try and keep as many minimal facts as necessary, and the most important ones that is necessary. Don't try to overwhelm yourself with a lot of facts. So remember these names, right? Obviously, you would be reading Tyler several times. Tyler, James Fraser, who talked about the evolution of society in the form of marriage, religion, and science. Then you have James Summer Main, American anthropologist L.H. Morgan, German Bachofen and Bastian, who talk about evolution of political system, etc. So these names and their books you need to remember. They did comparative study, that you need to remember. They talked about survival, that you need to study, right? So survivals are nothing but the, as I told you, cultural fossils, right? So these are some of the quotes that we need to remember. So Tyler called these survivals as social fossils. Morgan called survivals as past relic. So by studying them, we will be able to understand our past. So you also need to, maybe if it is asked as an essay type question, the principles of evolution. Now they say that this is the law, right? A law in a science will always have a principle. Now you talk gravity as a law. Okay, it has certain principles. Same way, what is the principle of evolution? That it is uniform everywhere, every man. And what is the reason that they give? That's another concept that invented or they came up with, that is psychic unity of mankind. So why people act in similar manner? Because of psychic unity of mankind, and that is why evolution is unilinear, it is universal. Okay, unilinear, unidirectional, it's always going to be upward and onward, right? So from savagery to barbarism to civilization, that's how it is going to evolve. And there would be differential evolution. It doesn't happen at the same pace. So different societies evolve at different times. And there are some which do not change. They have lost their utility, but still they exist. That is survival. And how do we study them? By doing comparative study. And lastly, they talk also about modern day primitives. They say that these modern day primitives are not the first or the earliest societies. They are basically the primitive, contemporary primitive or savagery societies. So those are the principles, okay, of classical evolution. So they talk about the character of evolution. How does evolution happen, or what is the character of evolution? So they are unilinear in a single line, they're unidirectional, rectilinear, always progressive, onward and upward, always ceaseless. That means it keeps happening. It may remain stationary at a point of time. That means it may not evolve, it may be stagnant, and then it may evolve very rapidly. So that could happen. There could be skipping of stage because of borrowing from neighboring. Okay, they have differential potential. Usually evolution is slow in the beginning, but later it becomes much more rapid. There are differential rate, therefore they say it is differential rate. That means faster in the later point of time, slow in the beginning. Also, individual invention and diffusion play an important role in the pace or change. So therefore they do talk about diffusion, but they don't give importance to it, for which it is criticized. And there are various internal and external factors that affects evolution. See, all these ideas, when you write your answers, has to be brought about. So for example, if they be very specific and ask you evolution of marriage as an institution, evolution of family as an institution, you need to bring about these ideas while explaining the evolution of marriage or kinship and other things. Right, so this is the characteristics. And then there are criticism. See, one of the major criticism of classical evolution is that it was ethnocentric. They considered their own culture to be superior. It is also criticized, saying that, I mean, for being, unscientific. They tried to bring a science, but they were unscientific because it was biased. They did not use any proper technique. They did not do field work. They did not collect their own data. So for all of these reasons, they were heavily criticized. Even though it was the first theory that was given in anthropology, it is not accepted anymore today because of various flaws. The revised or the changed, evolution, which is called as neo-evolution, is much more accepted today because it comes with evidences. Let's see very quickly some of the criticism. All these points you have to keep in mind, elaborated depending upon the demand of the question. They did not do their own study, relied on secondary data. They did not provide any evidences to show that each stage is necessary, which stage is superior or inferior, etc. And the way they categorized different society into savagery, barbarism, as well as civilization was very biased. They did not have any objective criteria, and they have been specific examples they have refuted by other anthropologists. Okay, there are other types of social change also, not just evolution that leads to change. Diffusion, later on we read that diffusion also is an important factor in social change. Then psychic unity of mankind, there's no evidence that everywhere man should behave in similar manner. Ideal type, what is the ideal savagery society, what is the ideal barbarism? There was no specific example. It was ethnocentric. Comparative method also is criticized. If you are comparing present day simple society with the past of a civilized society, that means the simple societies has never changed for so many years. So it is undermining change, undermining evolution itself. Then progressive nature of evolution, is very value loaded. in the sense that when you say that civilized is a higher level of society when compared to savagery, you're trying to evaluate and add value to this concept of evolution. So you are being judgmental about another culture, another society. And if you say if it is a ceaseless process, it keeps happening, what happens after civilization? What is the next stage? So you are saying civilization is the highest level of social development, and what comes after civilization is a question that was asked to classical evolutionists. But in spite of these criticism, classical evolution played a very important role in anthropology because it laid the foundation of anthropology. It collected several documents and data, etc., which enriched the discipline of anthropology. All right, so then we have to remember in classical evolution, important anthropologists like Tyler, who talked about religion and technology. So he classified society into savagery, barbarism, and civilization on the basis of religion. So he said that if a society practice animism, they are savagery. If a society practice polytheism, it is barbarism. If a society practice your monotheism, it is your civilized society. Same way, technology-wise also, he classified if they're using stone tools, savagery, if they're using metal tools, etc., barbarism, and if they practice agriculture, cities, industries, etc., then they are civilized. Similarly, Morgan also came up with his scheme of classification. You need to remember this entire table from the exam point of view. It can be asked as a part of evolution theory, or it can also be asked specifically. If you see previous year questions, they have asked Morgan's classification of marriage. Something like that can be asked. So Morgan's scheme of evolution is much more complex, where he uses 6 criteria to classify society into savagery, barbarism, and civilization. So he used technology, he used marriage, he used family, he used kinship, he used property, and he used political system. And then you need to remember each of these things. These are the factual information that you need to remember from the exam point of view. So that is Morgan for you. This was asked in the previous exam. Then James Fraser also is important, because in the chapter on religion, you'll be studying about James Fraser. There's a concept called as religion, magic, and science differentiated. So he says that how society evolves, the primitive society, the simple societies, that stage is characterized by excessive dependency on magic, that is control of supernatural. When he realized that he cannot control the supernatural being, he started to worship it. That is the stage of religion. And finally, when he got to know about the real nature of the phenomena that happens around him through science, that is a stage when he gives up religion, he gives up magic, and he develops the concepts and principles of science. So society evolved in 3 stages: magic, religion, and science. That is James Fraser. His very important book, Golden Bog, needs to be remembered. See, again, now why is theorist so important and foundation for your anthropology preparation is because it helps you to understand any concepts, whether it is in paper 2, whether it is in tribal anthropology, socio-cultural, or in Indian anthropology, various aspects. See, now, for example, now if you are talking about tribal society also, to what extent they deal with health issues. Now, in Indian anthropology or tribal anthropology, we talk about the health problems of Indian tribes. So there, when we talk about the health problems, we need to add that how they do not rely, or how there is superstitious belief, do not rely on modern medicine. So this is indicative that they follow their primitive, their belief system is at a stage of evolution. So we need to provide them those information that will help them to develop. So if you are trying to apply these concepts there, you will be able to get better marks. So 3 stage of development. Similarly, Henry James Summer Main, also when you write in your political anthropology, talking about the evolution of political system, how do you compare traditional political system with that of modern political system? You can definitely quote, James Summer Mains in your answer, because he talks about how the primitive societies is different from modern contemporary society in terms of their political system. So that you need to study and keep in mind. Even though it may not be asked individually, these things are very, very important. Similarly, how society have evolved from matrilineal to patrilineal. Johann Jacob Bokofen of Germany talks about how the descent system or the family system evolved from a matrilineal to a patrilineal society. So these kind of ideas, if you add in various explanation in your answers, even though when not asked, you'll be able to get better marks. So this is about classical evolution, which is the first theory that you have to know in anthropology. Okay.